What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Dripping Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Corvan, and today we have the amazing and exciting John G. Doyle. He's the brilliant mind behind the Phoenix Cycle series and has recently finished up that 4-book saga. We'll dive deep into his creative process, discuss his upcoming dark fantasy project, and nerd out about the Dark Tower series for about 20 minutes. I do apologize. No, I'm not sorry about that. It was amazing. Don't forget to subscribe and like wherever you happen to be listening, and check out the Wednesday show, Inks and Lattes. Furthermore, before we get right into this, I want to discuss the upcoming charity live stream event for the Dripping Creativity Podcast. All money going to the Trevor Project. This is happening June 29th, starting at 3 p.m. MST on the Creative Coffee Cafe YouTube channel. There's going to be over 20 creators, authors, musicians. Everybody is coming for this. It's going to be an amazing time. Make sure to check it out. Now, John, why don't you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is John G. Doyle. I write books sometimes. That's what I do mostly in my spare time. Play video games, watch a lot of movies, consume a lot of media that I probably should take a break on sometimes, to be fair. But I write books sometimes. That's my main goal, and hopefully one day I'll be able to do that full time.
Hell yeah. So let's get right into your journey into writing there. What kind of inspired the science fiction fantasy style that you go with?
Just being a kid, to be honest, playing in the woods with sticks with my brothers and friends and stuff like that. That's where all that came from. Always was really a big reader and just loved that kind of genre more than any of them. But yeah, most of it just, I've been telling stories ever since I can remember. I don't remember a time I wasn't writing something. Even when I was 12 or 13 on the good old fanfiction.net. If we all remember that. Yeah, that was a fun time. So I've been coming up with stuff. I think I was maybe 14, close to 15 when I decided to start writing my own stuff, because I had too many stories in my brain that all these characters that were clawing to get out. So I kind of had to give voice to a few of them, and 20 something years later, that's where we are right now. But as far as the genre goes, fantasy sci-fi is my bread and butter. I absolutely love it.
And so what kind of drew you into there? Is it just the whole aspect of something completely abnormal to what we currently have? Is it just the atmosphere itself? What really compels you?
I didn't have the best childhood. It wasn't the most fun environment. So I'm gonna say a lot of it was probably escapism. Just that fantastical, that one of the tropes in fantasy is called kid on farm. It's that very normal setting, and then some fantastical thing happens, or someone shows up, the Gandalf character, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh hey, you're not actually that plain Jane. Let me show you this, and then it just goes from there. So I always was drawn to that because, most of my time when I wasn't shoved in church all the time was spent trying to consume most of that. I loved all the old Ian Colfer books growing up, Artemis Fowl, Supernaturalist, and of course Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, all that stuff, Wheel of Time. A lot of that was my stuff. I had to sneak to read most of those, by the way, but the librarians were cool, so I could hide a couple of books on top and then get Eye of the World back home somewhere.
That's regardless of the reason why you need the escapism. It's a very common thing with a lot of people in the genre, and it's, I don't know, people want an escape sometimes for whatever reason, and fantasy and sci-fi just are that. It's just You know, it's a great escapism. So falling into that genre as you go forward, just kind of, it makes sense. I dig that. So let's talk a bit about the Phoenix Cycle. The series has been incredibly well received. What was kind of the inspiration behind the series, and how did you develop the storylines and the characters?
Okay, I had the character Jericho in my head since I was maybe 14. But beforehand, I started writing a pirate novel. It was just a comedy, kind of rom-com on the high seas. And I still have it, like over 400 pages of this book. But there was a moment where, because in my mind, when I was writing this stuff, I didn't plan on people seeing it. So I thought I'd give a little wink and nudge to myself. So there is a moment, and it actually does happen in the first Phoenix Cycle book, where they're in Scotland, and they meet Isaac Newton. He's with these pirates. It's like 1665. It's Christmas Day, his birthday, and Jericho's kind of a little, mind blown. Like, he's not supposed to be here. What the hell's going on? So that was actually taken from them seeing, it was just like a page, I think, in the Newton pirate book, and they were like, in my mind, I wanted the readers or myself to know that whoever they encountered was a time traveler, and then we would never hear anything else about it. It was just supposed to be a little haha, that's goofy, like a Monty Python type little insert, something not supposed to be taken seriously. So I wrote some more on the pirate book, and then I decided in my mind, I knew who this character was. So I was going to write like a little bio for this character. So if anyone ever asked, I could be like, oh, that's this. And then that bio ended up being 4 books and a full series. And I did not finish the pirate book. I still have it. But the actual character progression was, I had him in my head for a while, and that's normally how I get ideas. It's a character before I have setting, before I have like the world they're gonna be in, the things they're gonna have to overcome, or anything like that. I normally have a character, and then after I get that character in my brain for a little bit, then everything else kind of goes around that. And as far as the books goes, like, I didn't plan on writing more than one when I first started. I got very close to the end, and I knew how it was going to end, and I'm like, I think I could write one more. And I did that 2 more times. I got close to the end of the second one, wasn't supposed to write another one. I was like, oh, you know what, I think I could get one more out of this. And then we ended up with 4 of them, which I am a pantser. My fans, my followers, they know that. I know how stuff is supposed to start, and I know how stuff is supposed to end, and then everything else along the way are my characters just pulling me pillar to post. Characters have just died. I didn't know that was gonna happen when I started that chapter. That was fantastic. So yeah, my writing has always been character driven, and that's what I want to do going forward. I love all the other characters in there, but probably my favorite is Yvonne. He's kind of like the older, more sound voiced figure, I think. He turned out actually being one of my favorite ones, right? Him and Beck, the cyborg mean lady. So, but yeah, well, that's where the idea came from, and I didn't plan on writing 4 of them, and I did. So.
And that's one of the coolest things that I find happen is you have one specific idea that you want to do, and then as you're actually doing it, a different one kind of creeps up and takes over and goes, this is actually the story you should be telling right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to put this stuff off to the side, focus on this, and you'll like where it goes, and just rolling with it. So that actually kind of goes very nicely into a future question, which we're just going to jump into right now, which is your creative process, which obviously you kind of went through right there. Yeah. Do you find that, because we have a lot of members in the community who basically the characters are completely separate people and just show up and basically take over. Do you find that's kind of the case, or do you actually have to kind of develop them first before they become a character? What's that process like?
Normally they come whenever I get the idea for a character, they're pretty well formed, and as I write, I will be shocked and astounded sometimes by the things that they do or say. But the way and I've actually never said this out loud or to anyone, but what I normally do is look at the book as scenes or episodes, like in a series. So I know what I want to do, not necessarily a chapter is an episode, but I know what I want to happen character wise. And they normally get where I want them to go, but sometimes things change along the way. Now that I'm older and I love Gauntlet. It was my first book. I'm so excited for the people that have loved it, well received it, all the messages I've gotten of people saying it got them out of their reading slump, because I wanted it to be, my main idea for the time travel idea was I did not want it to break people's mind, because time travel as such a fun and really broad area of sci-fi or fantasy can be kind of mind-breaking, and I love a good butterfly effect with alternate endings. I love time travel, but I went more H.G. Wells with it, as far as, even though the context that they were in is fantastical, the resolution of some of the things made sense, like at the end of The Time Machine, which was, why can't I save my wife's life with this time machine? And he went through all this entire book to find out why. And then when he gets to the end, he's told, dude, it makes sense. How could you? You wouldn't have built this thing if she were alive. You could literally have saved anyone else on the planet except for her. And I remember being 12 or 13 when I read it the first time. And also the Guy Pearce movie, shout out. I actually really liked the Guy Pearce movie. I remember just being kind of blown away myself, like okay, because it's time travel. It's supposed to be this really magnificent thing happening, but the answer to this man's question that he has went to the year 800,000 or something crazy to find out was very minuscule and bare bones, and I loved that, and that's what I wanted to bring with mine. Now, book 4 gets a little mind breaky, not gonna lie. It was, I had to tie up some threads, and there was a little bit more of a hands-on approach with the overall plot of book 4, more than what I am used to, which is probably why it took me a little bit longer to finish it. And it did end up with 3 endings, which was crazy. I had to pick one, of course, but some of my Patreon people, I've been thinking about maybe dropping one, but also I don't out of the 3 I picked, I wanted it to be more of, this is the end of this arc. This character's tired. He needs a break. I didn't want it to end and people be upset. Like, there could be a lot more. What about this? What about that? So, yeah, it wasn't exactly eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the endings, but I did have to pick one that I felt best overall. Like, it's like any series, books, TV shows, movies. When you get to the end, I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad. You just have to feel like you didn't spend 6 years watching or reading or whatever, and it be kind of disappointing. And that was the ending I went with. It wasn't the safest of the endings, but I felt it put a nice bow on stuff, especially from book 1. There was so many callbacks to book 1, even I was surprised. Like, okay. But yeah, my characters do their own thing, is what I'm trying to say. But I can kind of guide them when I need to. That's the overall thing. But sometimes I can't. So maybe I don't have a good process. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, in all fairness, that is very similar to my process when it comes to stuff. So you know what? You're doing all right. If there's two of us that agree on that, then everyone else is wrong. That's really what
true.
I'm saying. You know, going to the ending concept. I can think of a couple shows right off the bat that I was so disappointed with the ending that I have not been, and it was my absolute favorite show, like, of all time. I still rewatch the first like 7 seasons, but I can't watch the last 2 because it's just like, I don't know what the fuck happened here, but this is just not good. And that type of thing drives me insane. It's like, give me, I just give me some callbacks. I just button it up, make it nice, make me feel satisfied by the end. I don't care if I'm happy or sad. I want to be satisfied with what I see. And yeah, like if that's the ending you went with, I don't think you really need to drop the other ones, just because you kind of don't want to taint that. You don't want to open up a door, right? Like, I mean, I get the wanting to and the people wanting to see it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, do I want to open that door again? Because
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking, and also why it's been 5 months and I have not dropped anything because of it's kind of like the ending of Dark Tower. Like, oh god,
so stop right there. Okay, out of the 40 some odd interviews that I have done, you were the first person to drop Dark Tower, and I just passed out because I love you.
Well, that's what it is. The argument that it is the series that I use for the argument of the only series that I can use in the argument of what is more important, the journey or the destination. Because the ending of Dark Tower, the first time I read it, it bothered me so bad. Okay. And then, as a recap, I had them all on Audible. I was working 14-hour shifts at the pipe shop. So I was able to binge all of them over and over again. And what I came to the conclusion was either the Dark Tower is the best series I've ever read, or it is the worst. It can't be both. And I am leaning towards the first one because those books are so damn, like, he's written a lot. All right, it's Stephen King. All right, he has written a lot of stuff. He is also a fellow pantser like myself. And that also might be one of the things where some of his endings struggle a little bit. Like, people have said, like, oh, I love Stephen King, but I hate his endings. Some of that could be from pantsing. But also, the Dark Tower is so well written. They paint such a picture in your head. Like this, like, okay, the scene, it's the scene where, I mean, I don't think I can, spoiling the Dark Towers. I mean, if you haven't read it by now, you probably don't want to read it, but okay, I'll keep it minimal. A character has a baby that is sort of a monster. Do you remember that scene?
Oh, I know it very well.
Okay. That is the most beautifully written, grotesque, diabolical shit I have ever read. And as soon as I finished it, I went back about a couple of minutes so I could hear it again because it was fabulous. And then all of the books are well written. Like, you cannot listen to those or read those and not have a perfect image of every character, every setting, every place. Everything is just beautiful. They're well written. And then you get to the end. And I think the reason it bothers a lot of people was because of how majestic the books were. That, I mean, like, I guess when you think about it hard, it couldn't have really ended any other way. They have done, that's it, and I think the reason people had such an issue with it, and the reason I initially had such an issue with it, was because I was so blown away and writing the peak of whatever he was writing when he wrote those things throughout all of them, that when I got to the end and that was the end, I was like, okay, all right. I was very upset. I was like halfway through my shift when I finished the 7th one. All the other people I was working with were like, what's wrong with you, John? And I'm like, shut up.
Leave me alone. I need a minute.
I need to think for like 7 years. Stephen King is a monster.
Okay. So I'm probably gonna end up chunking this down a bit, just for the sake of because I know a couple people that I'm forcing to read the series, so I don't want them to be spoiled at all. So
Nice.
So part of this will be cut. But this is my journey with the Dark Tower. Okay. When I was 12, I was very big into cowboys because my grandma was, and she would always give me cowboy books to read, right? Well, she had bought Gunslinger, not knowing what it was.
Nice.
She didn't like it, so she gave it to me. I have one of the original Gunslinger books.
Awesome.
With the original cover and all that shit, right?
That's
so
awesome.
I read it when I was 12. I had no idea what the fuck I was reading. I was like, I don't know what this is. It draws me in. It terrifies me because, you know, you're dealing with Jake and all of that shit. And then, you know, all of that, like I don't understand what's happening. So then I read it again later when I was like 16. And then I read the back and I was like, oh, he wants to do more of these, but I've never heard of this series. So I guess he just never got around to it because he was 19 when he wrote the first one.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, that's fine. And then when I was like 19, I was dating a girl. I was over at her mom's house, and what do I see sitting on there? Stephen King, The Drawing of the Three. I'm like, what is that?
What is that? Yeah.
And so this is like almost 10 years later. I go and I pick up this book. I'm like, oh my God, this is the sequel. What the shit? And then I look and it's like, oh, there's book 3, book 4, book 5. And that's where I had started was when he was at book 5. So I have this huge journey of all of a sudden coming back to this thing from my childhood. And it is so much better. Like everything in The Drawing of the Three was so viscerally amazing.
Yeah.
That it drew me into the point where I have all the books on the paperback cover. I have them all on the basic cover. I have all the audiobooks. I have them all. I love the series to death. and through it all, through the whole thing, I was there when the final book released. Got all the way through, and at first I was disappointed, and I was like, and then I just sat there and went, no, there's literally no other way for this to end.
That's it.
Like,
there's
how
a lot.
The fuck does that happen?
A lot of callbacks, like Salem's Lot was in there.
Oh, everything is attached to this series, which is why I felt so hard for it, and I've never had someone to talk to about it. So I'm loving this so much. Thank you.
Okay. It is. Take a breath. It's good. We're all good. But yeah, I was very similar. An older cousin of mine had the Gunslinger, and I was the same way. Like real big West, like that was some of the only things that my parents thought was okay. So Louis L'Amour, Max Brand, all those OG like cowboy novels and those little short stories. Oh yeah, I used to eat those up too. They were really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Very well written.
And then your world changes when you get to the Gunslinger and you get to that town.
Did not take long.
No, that town changed a lot in my brain. I was like, oh, that can happen in books. Okay.
Yep. It changed a lot of stuff for me.
We'll have a round table just about the Dark Tower series. That's what we're gonna have to do. Because I know a couple people that are way, not in my circles at all, but I know they love it, so I'll invite them.
Before we get off topic, do you have a favorite book, like in the series?
Yes, kind of. I like number 1, Wolves of the Calla.
Oh yeah,
absolutely love that storyline. But Wizard sticks with me because of how visual the world is.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like, I want to live in that world. Every aspect of that. He is horrible at writing romance.
Oh God, yeah.
Absolutely. But you know what?
We've known that for a long time.
But it didn't change the fact that I still loved those two. And Drawing of the Three is just, it's perfect.
It's so much because it's so, like almost double the length of Gunslinger. It's like just
and it covers so many things in such a way. Like basically you're running through what, 4 different storylines with detailed backgrounds on absolutely everything, and not a single scene is misplaced.
No.
Everything makes sense. Everything follows the path, and it's such. So yeah, I would have to go with Drawing of the Three just for the overall structure of it all. But I love them all, man. I really do.
I think my favorite's probably Song of Susanna, but
that
only because close to the end was just like so gripping. I remember just being like
good.
absolutely blown away. I loved it so much.
The bear.
Mm-hmm. Fucking bear.
I'm gonna have to listen to the series again.
Yep. I'm gonna download them again right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's once a year I generally get back into it, but it's a lot of hours.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so now that we just spent 20 minutes talking about Dark Tower.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, dude. No. It's just the second you said it, I was like, no, we're staying on this topic for a bit. I hope you don't have anywhere to go immediately.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so bringing it back to the actual interview, people. You have found fantastic success in being a self-published author. What were some of the challenges that you originally faced, and how did you kind of overcome them?
The thing about self-publishing, and I've never had the best self-confidence at all. So when I finished the first one, I had no intention of ever actually publishing or sending it off to agents or anything like that. I just sat on it, and then someone randomly said, hey, I think you can self-publish through Amazon. And back then it was like Kindle Direct Publishing and then Create Space. It is much more streamlined now. If anyone is listening and you were thinking about self-publishing, it is very easy to do now. It was kind of a circus back in the day, having to link different accounts and jump through hoops and stuff. But the thing about it is I self-published the first one, I think, in 2011, around Thanksgiving. And the second one, which was the longest of the series and took me the shortest time to write because I was writing that I just finished book 1 high. So I knocked it out in like 7 or 8 months. It was a whirlwind. It was crazy. I published that a year later in 2012. And they just sat there for 13 years. Like, seriously, no one knew about it, because that's the thing about the internet. Since they're on Amazon, anyone with an internet connection could see it. But since Amazon doesn't really help you with stuff like that, unless you pay them a lot of money, which I did not have, no one will see it. So they just sat there, all obscure. That's one of the reasons, because I had started writing book 4 about 2017, 2018, and I stopped writing it about a year later, about a halfway through, because I was like, no one's ever gonna see these. I'm good. And then I was wrong.
Which comes into the next question.
Yeah.
Before you get there. So you gained a significant following.
Yeah.
And your book became widely known. How did the sudden rise to fame kind of impact you in your writing process?
Okay, well, I had a TikTok account, just a normal personal one, that I think it took me like 2 years to get 500 followers, which I was very proud. I still, like, when I see comments or likes of that original 500 followers, I know who they are. I love you all. You guys were the first. You're the best. And that didn't go anywhere. I just had one mainly for doom scrolling. And it was about New Year's Day 2023, and I just made another TikTok account. I don't know why. And I threw up one random video of my coworker. Coworker and roommate, we were on the same shift, so we literally just spent every waking and sleeping moment together. So I had already worked with him about 1.5 years. I knew him pretty well. We were friends. He's still are, but he was kind of grumpy. He had that kind of mid-40s Southern attitude going on, and I just randomly videoed him one day without him knowing. And I used to send those to my wife, like on Messenger. That's just a joke, like, look at what Alan said to this. And I went to bed, and then the next day that video had like I think our follower count went up to like 1,000, like the first like couple of hours, and I went to bed with that, and I'm like, well, that's crazy, that's double what I got and whatever. And then I woke up to like, I think it was 48,000, and then by the end of that night it was 90 something thousand. we had over 400,000 within a week, and it was absolutely bananas. And I had 3 books on there, but I also was secretly filming my coworker without him knowing. And that was the hook, that was they wanted to know if I was going to die when this dude found out. He hates social media. He did not know what TikTok was. So yeah, I had accidentally made him a TikTok sensation, one of the fastest growing accounts ever on the platform, that fast. And yeah, it was about 3 months later when he found out, and it was good then. But before that, I didn't want other people to know I had another TikTok account, because I didn't want to be like using someone who didn't know to be like, yay, hey, also, by the way, buy some books, folks.
It's a very, like, you're looking at it going, that it would work, but at the same time, that's really shady. Very shady.
And I don't believe in luck, but if I did, I'm a very lucky son of a bitch, because that could have went so wrong, because he and I were really good friends. And when he did find out, he didn't tell me about it until a few weeks later, when I was going to tell him, and then he confessed, yeah, I know about the other account. I'm like, fuck. Like, so we stayed up all night that night talking. I didn't post anything the next day. Everyone thought Alan had killed me. But most of that conversation wasn't me being yelled at, because he had that vibe. He had that get off of my lawn, you darn kids vibe. It was more of a very low-key discussion, and he did feel hurt. That was one of the main feelings he had. He wasn't really mad. He wasn't like ready to murder his coworker. He was just kind of, why didn't you tell me? But I was like, So we went on from there, still really successful. I pulled back from the Turnaround Alan account this year a little bit. I just could not juggle. We don't work on the same rig anymore. It was so much for me to try and keep up with, and also write another book. So I kind of took a step back. He and I had a long talk about that. But during that time, after he found out, that's when it was about March, close to the end of March of 2023, when everyone found out about the Phoenix cycle. And the sales were absolutely insane. And then it became, since Turnaround Alan was such a big deal, there were people who didn't read or didn't like books who were buying my book, because it became like for a week and a half, it was like a thing. It was a trend on TikTok to buy John's book and then show a video, because I would duet them or stitch them. And I think a lot of the people who bought it, it was like, they probably only did it because they were hoping to get a stitch from the Turnaround Alan guy, the blue-haired fucker, as Alan had called me more than once. But yeah, it's been going up since then. And yeah, like it seems really weird and corny to say, but my literal dreams have literally came true because of this. And I'm never gonna not love Turnaround Alan. That thing changed everything. Well, every trajectory. Like, I had given up by then. Why would I finish these books? But now all 4 of them are out. That series is done. Jericho can rest, and I'm on to hopefully bigger and better things. And the fans are along with me for the ride, and I absolutely love them. Can't get enough of them.
That's one of the coolest things, not only because of the story, which is awesome, because again, it was something you weren't intending, you weren't trying to become famous from. It was just something you were doing to have fun, that other people were like, shit, that's a lot of fun, I want to follow that. And just that organic growth alone is an incredible story, and not utilizing it to then push yourself further and kind of letting that happen organically too. is commendable and amazing, because there's so many people that would taken that and just abused the fuck out of it to the point where they're just, you know, the fans would just absolutely hate you, and you know that doesn't help you at all. So
I'm not a very good famous person.
Well, no, I think the exact opposite is you are a very good famous person, because you are being honest not only to yourself but then to everyone else at the same time. And I think that in itself is what being a famous person should be. You are, you know, encouraging more growth and support over just, you know, give me your money, and that I love just 100%.
Yeah.
So then we've got all that. You boom, you're like, holy shit, maybe I should keep writing. You decide to keep writing. Now I suppose the biggest thing is balancing the writing with you know, being a husband and a father and still working out there. Like, what the hell is that schedule like for you? How do you find the time to write?
It's not easy there, Chris. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now. Not super easy. Because before, when I would write, it was more of a muse-based thing. Like when I wasn't writing to hit a deadline, writing to hit a schedule, or writing because I knew a lot of people were going to read something or see something later, it was more of I really feel like writing. You know, it'll hit you while you're driving, it'll hit you while you're in the shower, it'll hit you normally in the middle of the shift at work. But now I've been able to sort of, this is my time. When I need to write, I write. And when I'm at work, there isn't a whole lot of extra time because I work nights, so I sleep a lot of the day, and then I get up, I don't have much time. But in that, I can actually get a little bit done at work. I get more done when I'm home, even with the wives and kids. Wives, like I have more than one wife, the wife and the kids, the dogs and the cats, all over the place.
You know, and that shit in. That's gonna be great.
Hey man, you know, me and Rochelle talked about it. Look, if you could babysit children sometimes, yes, sister wife, bring it on. Let's do this. It's not legal in this state, but hey, it's just something. I want to
figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, but it's not easy, but I am able to, when I do actually have time to sit down, like my low stuff normally stays around between 1,500 to 1,700 words, but my normal, like when I get into it, I can crank out 3,000, sometimes 4,000 words at a sitting, which really goes pretty well. And I've started, since this novel is new, it's different, there's a new cast of characters I can't wait for people to find out about. And I'm also wanting to say a little bit more with this story and with this character. I have, you know, this character is going to represent this, maybe not to everyone, but definitely to me. And it's close to me, so I'm having a lot of fun with it. But I'm finally glad that I was able to get out of the whole, like, I don't have writer's block. I don't have time to write block, whatever that is.
I feel that so hard, man.
Yeah.
Oh God, I feel it so hard.
Yeah, it's like, I know what I need to write. Like if I could actually sit at a computer, yes, I can write. But actually sitting at that computer can sometimes be a little hard to get to sometimes. So but yeah, it's not easy, but I'm making it work. Sometimes.
Well, obviously, no, you're killing it. I mean, regardless of how much time you're actually putting in, it's the fact that you are actively finding time to do it. Doesn't have to be every day, but you're not going, nah, you know what, I'm good today. It's like, no, just when you have time, you get it done, and that's, you know, every step counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then let's actually talk a little bit about the new project here, because you're into a dark fantasy setting.
Yes, sir.
How have you found the differences between Phoenix here and this one, and what kind of made you want to change over into it?
This originally started off as a D&D campaign. I was gonna GM for some friends and a brother, and I spent so much time working on it to get ready, and life happens, and the same thing that happens with most D&D campaigns happened with, don't have time, I can't make it, yada yada. And after about 6 months of that, I was like, this is actually pretty good. I'm gonna work on this. So yeah, we didn't do that campaign. We just did another lame one shot, and this one was one that I took to heart. It was about late 20. I think the first doc I wrote on it was about 2018 ish. And I didn't start working on it again until 2022. But it was one of those things where I had already written a good bit. So when I got back into it to kind of look back over, like, where the hell was I? What the hell was going on? It was actually pretty mind blowing because I had forgotten some of the stuff and I was like, oh, wow. But this one was different because I was able to, I knew all the characters and I knew what I wanted. It was a dark fantasy heist-esque novel. It had that kind of, there's flashback chapters with the whole recruit kind of, like if it was a movie, the names would flash on the screen and, like the satyr, the minotaurs, like Guy Ritchie shit. But one of the things that I have found is this is a lot more adult oriented than my previous series, and it's not the main drive, but what I focused on most with a entourage cast of characters. I did it with the Phoenix Cycle. I'm doing it with this one. I'm going to do it with probably everything I write is not necessarily love triangles, romance, or things like that. What I like to focus on more is really deep connections and relationships with one another. Like, we're not brothers, but I would die for you. You're not my actual mom, my sister, my anything, but we found each other. We're in this situation together. And from there, I love the way it has blossomed. It's one of the things, like I said, I wanted to push in Phoenix, and I really thought I caught it, especially with books 3 and 4, because in 2, everyone's getting together. And then in 3 and 4, they already are together, and you get to kind of see them navigate, plot, the world, things like that. But this one being more adult, like I said, I wanted to say a few things with this novel, and I think it's going really well. I don't take shots at everything. Even though I am an atheist, I don't take shots at religion every time. I do like making up fake ones for fantasy sake. Those are good. But I really can't wait for people to read this one. I'm really excited about them just finding out about these characters the way I found out about them, which is I knew the way they were, how they would react, how they are. And then as I go through this story, just letting them do their thing, it has been absolutely fantastic. And I've said it before that I think Wasteland might be my magnum opus. It was mainly because of the way it was written. It was the longest one I had written, but it went so fast. It was like a whirlwind. It was just, everything fell into place. I didn't lose steam at all. And I liked it. I liked that feeling. This one is probably going to be my favorite book I've written, though. I got other stuff in the pipeline. I got other series that are coming up. I got a lot of other stuff that's coming, but I really, really love these characters. The good ones and the bad ones. They do them, and they do it well. And the way it's kind of blended together, and the fact that it is very character driven, most of my stuff is, but there is not a whole lot of time, not a whole lot of downtime. There's not, we're gonna, start a fire and then sit at camp and, talk about our lives and feelings. There isn't a whole lot of that. So we have to get to know these characters through them trying to not die every 2 seconds when they're in this really, really, really terrible, deadly place. And as they go down the spire and keep going to different levels, it just gets worse. And I'm really excited about it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to not smile so much when I talk about it, but
that's how it should be. You should be smiling while you talk about it, man.
I'm really excited about it. I'm getting close to finishing the Primordial Spire. I'm hoping to be done with it before July gets here, and then I'm going to have some betas and some edits, all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm really, really excited. I'm also really excited about the narrator who I want to do the audiobook. I don't know if his schedule is going to allow it. He's pretty big. He's got a lot on his plate, but I have spoken to him, and I sent him chapter 1 in the prologue. He just wanted to look at it because I was like, I loved your voice. He's pretty big on TikTok. He does like really cool dramatic scenes from stuff. He has read Warhammer books in the past. He's voiced video game characters before. Dude's legit. I absolutely love him. So I sent him chapter 1 and the prologue, and it's fantasy setting. The prologue is like Genesis 1, my version. So there's a lot of words that are hard to pronounce. There's a lot of gods and goddesses and lands and continents and all this stuff. I didn't give him any kind of feedback. I just said, this is it. And he sent back just a few snippets. This is a minute of me reading this. This is a minute of me reading this. And I was like sitting in my chair like, oh my God. I was like, I wrote it and I didn't even know how to pronounce that. How did you do that? Of course, that's how you say the goddess's name. Jesus. So I like I said, dude has got a lot on his plate. He's pretty big in the voice acting community. So I'm probably going to have to like do a Kickstarter to even get him, but I am very, very excited to hopefully be working with him. Plus, he sent back a few notes on what I sent him, and he was like, this is amazing. I absolutely love this. Like, I can't wait for this to come out. Even if we don't work together, let me know. And I was like, okay, sure. So, but yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Hell yeah. And I mean, definitely, especially as you get closer to the beta reads and all of that, let me know. We can have you back here to kind of do a beta read push and an ARC reader push. That's kind of what our community is all about, is pushing that type of stuff. So definitely do that. And then with the audio stuff, get you both on here at some point. Ooh.
That would be amazing. I would just be sitting here in like a puddle the whole time.
Fanboying the entire time.
I listen to a lot of Warhammer books, so when he does like a Horus Heresy speech or something, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what Angron would say.
Well, and again, like, that's even as I'm going on this, because again, I've only been doing this for about 2 months now, but even some of the names that I've been able to talk to in the TTRPG community and elsewhere has just been like, I never thought I'd have a chance to talk to somebody like you, and this is very scary and intimidating, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna fake it, and it'll be fun, I promise. Just please come on my show.
Amazing.
But yeah, you have the opportunities like that. It's not, again, it's not putting anyone else out to reach out like that, and you're making connections. Like, that's fantastic. It's so good. I love it. Okay, so we're going to end with one final question. Then we're going to do a rapid fire question.
Gotcha.
Or series of questions, and then we'll wrap it up, because we're pushing an hour, with half an hour of that being Dark Tower.
20 minutes. Okay.
I'm just gonna clip out that one section of us just talking about Dark Tower. That'll be one episode on its own.
Yeah, and this is the bonus episode, Dark Tower.
Exactly. And then, like, we haven't even gotten into the tabletop stuff, so you're gonna have to come back, dude. There's so much to talk about.
Yes,
but anyways, final question before the rapid fire. After, because you had actually mentioned this too, after the current book series, which I'm guessing is a series.
This one is supposed to be standalone. I ended up with 3 endings to this as well. And it's not 3 endings, it's 3 variations of the same ending. 1, it'll be a bow, we can go solo, people will maybe be happy. 1, it's terrible, but it leads into other books. And the other one is not as terrible, because you might be rooting for this person, and I can still have other books. So I'm thinking there's one of those I'm going to pick, and when I do, I could possibly, I have not said this out loud because I have been saying that it was just a single book. I wanted it to be a single book, but I'm doing that thing, Chris, where I get to the end, and I'm like, oh shit, I could write 12 more of these. So the plan is for it to be a single book, but no, there could be more maybe down the line.
So all right, so after this one-off possible series, you had mentioned that you have a couple other things in the pipeline. What do you think you want to focus on next? Not specific details and all that, just kind of give me a rough little something.
Okay. The next one I wanted to push was Tex Machina. It is my sci-fi epic western. I have about maybe 10 to 12,000 words already written on it. I started writing this about early 2018 before Spire. I like the idea. I like the character. I got the idea from a story my grandmother told me. And I love the world and the setting. And that was the original plan, was to finish Spire, then roll into this thing. But since the start of this year, there has been another series that has kind of came out of nowhere in my brain. It is a trilogy, and it's not part of the Phoenix cycle, but it is a segue to the next arc of the Phoenix cycle, which the Phoenix cycle was done. The next cycle was going to be the Paladin cycle. I already have 8 books mapped out in that. It's going to be familiar faces we've seen. People are going to be excited. It's the new generation of Paladins. I was really excited for that. But this next one, it's called the Ashbourne trilogy, I think might need to be done first, at least partway. So yeah, as soon as I finish this one, I wanted to roll into text. I think I'm going to start this other trilogy. I am sorry for the listeners who I said I would start text next. So yes, Ashbourne trilogy is what I'm coming up with. I've already mapped out a lot of it, world built my ass off, and yeah, that's the next one.
See, what listeners have to understand is when you're a funnel creator, and that's what I call people like us, is we don't write it. We're just kind of the funnels for the characters to come out. We can't dictate what order they come out. They just do. Yeah. So, we can want to do something, and then the characters and stories are going to be like, nah, bitch, we're going to go over here.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Exactly. Right, it's like, now. You know what? I have to do this story because this one won't shut up and I need to sleep. So...
Yeah. That's it.
So, all right, these rapid fire questions. Take a second, take a drink. I actually want to give a special thank you to Eva Crow for getting me in contact with you. Because of her, we're chatting, and that's amazing. So thank you very much, Eva. You rock. All right, so rapid fire questions. Here we go. If you could rewrite the ending to any book, what book would it be and why?
It would be the end of Mockingjay. Very, very easy. Or the ending of Catching Fire. See, if you rewrite the ending of Catching Fire and make it not as good, no one will really care about Mockingjay. Because it was crazy. The first book, okay, it's Battle Royale. Good idea. Catching Fire might be one of the just best single books I've ever read. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. And then Mockingjay, in contrast, might be one of the worst books I've ever read. And I don't know if it's that Dark Tower thing where it wasn't as good because Catching Fire was so good. That may be the thing. But if I had to pick, yeah, it would be Mockingjay. And I think I would probably stop at about 30 pages shy of where it ended. And then we would all be happy. Look at that. Boom.
Perfect right there. And just, little side note, I want to get a Charlie the Choo Choo tattoo.
You should.
Don't ask me silly questions, that's all I'm saying.
You should get a Charlie. You should.
And I mean, and there's another book that I fucking loved to death was The Wastelands. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, anyways. Okay. If you were a character in your own book, what would be your role?
Oof. If I was a character in my own book, I would probably be the sarcastic guy who points out all the faults in plans. The person that they're like, do you really need to be here right now? And I'd be over there with chips like, I don't know, man. Do you? So yeah, I wouldn't be bringing a lot to the table other than sarcasm and, oh yeah, that sounds good. What about this and this? Yeah, that'd be me. The guy on the sidelines underlining everything wrong with the plan.
What is one plot twist you will never use in your writing?
Okay. Never, ever, ever. And I want to reiterate it and say it one more time. Never fucking ever will it all be a dream. Okay? It will never all be a dream. Okay? Waking up, one thing. All right? But an entire thing being a dream? No. Because I don't want to spoil the Phoenix cycle. But in book 4, we find out there were parts of book 1 that did not actually happen. They were implanted memories. And I know it wasn't a dream. It wasn't exactly that. But even that I struggled with because it was very similar. Yeah,
Gotcha.
It was all a dream. I don't like that one.
We have a very strong opinion on dream theories. That's good to know.
Yeah.
If you could have one mythical creature as a pet, what would it be?
It would probably be something that couldn't fly, something that would be down on the earth with me. Probably something like, I wouldn't mind a minotaur. I'm not gonna lie. I love my take on them. They're more sentient and not as like barbarian and clubby in my dark fantasy.
Can you call that a pet, or are you just trying to get yourself a slave?
I just want a friend.
You know what? Enough said.
I just need that friend that I could be like, I'm with him, and everyone's gonna be like, you know what? I respect both of you.
I accept that. I can't argue with that one at all. What is the weirdest thing you have ever Googled for your book research?
Okay. For this one, the weirdest one. Okay, it's not weird. But I have how much the human head weighs is a normal one. If you're a writer, everyone has Googled that one. I mean, come on. Different ways of how long it would take someone to die, but phrasing it like what is like, instead of saying something like, hey, what are some of the side effects to an extreme exposure to radiation? But instead typing in, how long does it take to die of radiation? The answer, by the way, is terrible because your skin and cells start dying before. So in less than 2 weeks before you actually die, your body will start rotting and you will be basically a rotting corpse before you die. There you go. You learned something new. The worst thing I have Googled was what do dark elf nipples look like? Famously, I did it on my work computer. My boss saw it. It was a whole thing. And I'm like, I'm writing a book. I wasn't on the clock when I Googled that. Okay? They do not look the way I thought they would look.
I was not expecting that answer. I really wasn't.
Hey, it is what it is. I have owned it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love it.
That's one. I went with like a dark violet. That's what I went with.
Yeah,
so.
and you know what? These are the important questions to ask.
You gotta know, man.
I 100. Well, even not about dark elf nipples, but in the community, there's been a couple conversations about people asking, okay, well, could somebody die from this type of weapon? Well, what about this type of thing? How long would that happen? Our Discord gets weird, man.
Yeah. It's like the Warhammer community. Do you know how long they have argued about whether or not the Space Marines were actually eunuchs or not? Like Games Workshop had to come out and say, no, they got it. They just don't really use it too much.
Again, important questions. All right, if you could swap lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be and why? And what would you do?
Okay, I would probably swap with Bilbo Baggins before he got hauled away by some old dude to save a kingdom and face a dragon. When he was just chilling, eating a lot of food, he was content, just smoking outside all day. It would be that. Really? And the reason I would be obviously because of that.
So really, what you're saying is you just want to have a vacation. It's really what you're telling me.
Hey man, I need one. But it was like an all-day thing. Like you didn't even hear about hobbits. Like they talked about money a lot, but like none of them went to work. It's not like you saw them out there like peddling a bunch of stuff. They were just like living up, smoking, eating food 6 times a day.
I mean, you know what? Sounds like a great weekend. If you could only write one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh. Okay, sci-fi fantasy doesn't count. I have to pick sci-fi or fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shit. Okay, probably sci-fi. I got a lot more sci-fi ideas, but my problem is my sci-fi leans fantasy towards the end of whatever I write. So probably sci-fi. I think I could survive in that.
Okay. Good answer. And then what is the most bizarre fan interaction you've ever had?
Ooh. Man, I had one just the other day in Walmart with my kid. I like it when my kids are with me. When people are like, "Are you the TikTok guy?" Because when they leave,
God damn it!
yeah, exactly. When they leave, I like look at my kids like, "That's right, Dad's famous."
Dude, as a dad that has a 19-year-old and a 12-year-old, I get it.
Yeah, it was probably. I was in the Mexico City airport on my way to work, and I met some fans there who saw me from a distance. I had purple hair at the time. I go through a wide array of colors every year, just whatever I feel like. And they saw me from like a really long distance away. And one of them started yelling in Spanish and was like all slapping her friend and pointing. And I didn't realize what was going on. So I'm like looking around like, what the hell? Like, is like someone being attacked. I didn't know what was going on. And then they ran over there and it's turned around now and it's you. And I was like, oh, yep, that's me. The fan interactions, last time I was home, I went to this local con, maybe about an hour away. And that was genuinely fun too. It was fun for the people who knew I was going to be there, but then there were people who didn't know I was going to be there. So they passed by my booth and like look at me and then walk and then stop and like, oh my God. But the key thing to take away is I am not good at fan interactions because I am awkward as hell. Always. I just feel like I'm bothering people all the time. But yeah, the Mexico City screaming people, that was a good one.
You know, yeah. I think in general, unless you've been doing it for a long time, most people just come across awkward anyways when you meet them. Like even if you fake it internally, you're like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is weird.
Don't give me that hope, man.
I'm telling you, it's more common than you think. I'm telling you.
Don't make me feel too comfortable up here.
All right, so penultimate, coffee or tea?
Oh, probably tea. I like my tea.
You know what? We were on our way to best friends. We were almost there, man.
Okay, I drink coffee.
We were almost there, and then you go and you choose tea over coffee.
Okay, I probably drink coffee more than tea, but if I had to answer the question, coffee or tea,
this interview's over. I gotta go.
It's probably tea. Oh, come on, Jesus! Fine, coffee. God, peer pressure. I'll do it.
I win. So then, before we get to the very final question here and wrap this up, I just need to point out to everybody, because there is no video for this, but audio, and I will still do a video version, but your avatar on Google is Chrono Trigger. And I love that so fucking much because that's like one of my favorite games of all time. I just wanted to point that out. There was no reason. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, that also, the game is just, it was so ahead of its time.
It completely,
like 100%. Absolutely multiple endings. I was like, they didn't hold your hand. You could literally go the entire game and not even see key characters if you didn't walk a certain distance away from them.
Exactly. Well, and then using the control as an actual spelling tool for that one thing. And I failed so many things the first time around.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh no, you can actually like not do. Oh, okay.
I think it was my third playthrough when I actually got the frog guy. Because at first I was like, wait, what? But yeah, I like that scene. It's very cozy. Them around the fire, just chilling. Yeah,
it's a fantastic. Yeah, no. All in all, that game amazing. Loved it to death. Anyways, that was it. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so then the final actual ending question that we have here is, where can people find you?
Okay, I am on TikTok at John G. Doyle. I think it's like John G. _Doyle, but if you just type in John G. Doyle, you can find me. There is other John G. Doyle, I think, who's like a famous guitar musician. He's way better than me. That's not me. You'll know me by the crazy colored hair, and I'm not an older gentleman in the UK. Also, I think there's a John Doyle who's like a really big right-wing preacher type guy. That is not me. You will know it is not me. But yeah, books are on Amazon, Phoenix Cycle, and I am also on Instagram. And everything else, no.
You really got to get on Threads, man.
I mean, I guess one day, sure.
Well, okay, just put it on
I'll
context.
eventually end up probably somewhere, depending on what happens to TikTok.
Let's wrap this up, and then I'll chat at you more. So now, the very final thing that I need you to do is just say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. This has been absolutely fucking amazing, and thank you for listening. You guys are the best.
Thank you, John, for sharing your incredible journey. You are my new best friend. I'm sorry, that's just facts now. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you to everyone who listened. Once again, don't forget to subscribe and like wherever you happen to be listening. Mark your calendars for the live stream on the 29th at 3 p.m. All fundraising goes directly to the Trevor Project through Tiltify on the Creative Coffee Cafe YouTube channel. I've been your host, Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Dripping Creativity Podcast. Stay creative, stay inspired, and until next time, see ya.